Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to have a chat about age differences with regard to relationships. And does it matter? Are there any advantages or disadvantages? While we have a walk around the ever expanding runway market, the airplane market, the jumbo jet market, people call it, which now has shops running down the side as well, and it's getting bigger and bigger. I thought I'd just show you it again because it's just expanding and very popular. Okay, let's just get on with the chat, shall we? So, in the West, in recent years, we've become very accepting of different relationship combinations. Now, if you remember, years ago, the term mixed marriage or mixed relationship used to be used for different races. That is no longer the case. Now it's perfectly acceptable. Different cultures is also perfectly acceptable. Also, even trans relationships are now perfectly acceptable. But there is still one exception, which is considered to be still unacceptable. And that is age gap relationships, which in the West are still frowned upon. In the West, if you see an older man with a young girl, that's considered a little bit not quite right, There's something wrong there. This sort of negative attitude is still prevalent in the West. Then, of course, you have to say, well, how much of an age gap is acceptable? When you think about it, it's what it looks like is what's acceptable. For example, if you have a girl who's, say, around 30, and she looks around 30, then you have a guy who's, say, in his 60s or 60-ish, but he still looks fit and good and much younger than he actually is. Then together they look okay. But then perhaps say you had another girl who's 30, same age, but looks very young for her age. And another guy who is the same age, around 60, but looks old for his age and is out of shape and fat and looks bad. There then appears to be a huge age gap difference. But in fact, it's exactly the same age gap in numbers. So the difference is not specifically the number, it's the way they look, the appearance is what it actually is, not the number of years. Now, in Southeast Asia, age gap relationships are accepted. But in the West, people still think it's wrong. But why? Well, she's young enough to be his daughter. Okay, so what? If the two people are happy with their relationship, why is it wrong? The truth is it's not wrong. It's a bigoted view. Now, the other argument some people come up with is that he'll die before she does and leave her destitute. Well, that's just irresponsible. Now, if the two have a relationship, a long-term relationship together, and maybe even get married, which happens a lot, then the guy, being older, should have some financial security, which he should make sure she has when he goes. Now, an example of this is a couple I know, where the girl is 30 years younger than him. She happens to be a very good hairdresser, and he saw this, and he bought her a shop. The shop has become very successful, and the girl is now independently financially stable. But they're still together. Now, if she had had, say, a boyfriend who was the same age as her, there's no way he would have been able to afford to buy her a shop. So the two of them would have been struggling for years together. But instead, she's now financially stable. Now, that's one way a girl can benefit from this relationship. And there is another way she benefits. He can be her mentor. He can use his decades of life experience to teach her about life, to put her ahead of the game with regards to knowledge of life. Of course, this does depend on the girl having the intelligence to absorb the knowledge, which is unfortunately sometimes not the case. But if she is intelligent, then she can learn so much by the age of, say, 25 that most people are unaware of even by the age of 40, having an intelligent, caring mentor. Now, one of the bases for criticism of having a younger girlfriend is people who are jealous, who are stuck in a relationship with someone their own age, but it's not happy, and they don't have the financial resources to come to Southeast Asia, and will never ever be able to have a relationship with a younger girl like they would love to do. So it's jealousy or envy in many cases which causes the criticism. Another benefit which girls get from age gap relationships is that mostly older guys tend to be faithful. They're not usually running around chasing every bit of skirt on the planet, which most guys do in their 20s, don't they? I'm sure you did. I know I did. Another consideration is that with normal marriages or relationships in the West, where people are within 2 to 5 years of each other's age, currently has about a 50% divorce rate. So that's no guarantee of success. Now, so far, we've only discussed the benefits a lady can get from age gap relationships, but I think that the benefits a man gets are pretty obvious, and I don't think we really need to go into much detail on that. As long as you get a girl who is faithful, that's the only thing which is a factor which you need to consider. So guys, anyway, you've been asking for a story. Well, the other day, I was in my hairdresser's shop and an interesting story cropped up. So I was having a chat with her and a coffee the other day, and this girl came in who was a regular customer. The girl was quite attractive, slim, around mid-20s, and pretty, about an 8, I would say. Anyway, the shop then got busy and I left. So the next day I went back to see the hairdresser about something, and she told me the story about this girl. So the girl has an Australian sponsor/boyfriend in his mid-50s who lives in Australia, but sends money and comes to see the girl regularly. The guy lives in Perth, so it's only, I think it's about a 4-hour flight, something like that, maybe a little more. So it's not very far, and he comes quite often. Now, the Aussie guy wanted to start having a look outside of Pattaya at different places. And not too far, but, have a look outside. And the girl, whose name, by the way, is Lek, said, why don't we buy a car? Just a small car. And then I could learn to drive, she said, and get a license, and we could go all over wherever you want and see different places in Thailand. And not too far, but we can go different places. The guy thought it was a good idea. So he said, you need to get your license and take lessons. And she said, yes, can do that. Now, I don't know whether you're aware, you guys, but in Pattaya there are places you can go to take a very, very, very basic lessons without a test, but just maybe 2 or 3 hours of lessons, and then the agency you go to can get you a license. Let's put it that way. You have to pay some extra money, and then this license magically appears. And it's a full legal license, proper job, in your name. and it just magically appears without you having to take any tests. So that's what she did. And when the Aussie guy came the next time, a few weeks later, she showed him the license and said, look, I now have a license and I can drive. And so they started looking for a car. And what she said she wanted, what she liked, was the little red Mazda 2, the little hatchback one. That's what she really wanted. And they looked and looked and looked, and there's plenty around, and they found a nice one. And it's a lovely little reliable car. She found one that was about 5 years old, so it wasn't too expensive. And they bought it in her name. It was easier to put it into her name. And then, when they bought it, they went for a trip to Koh Chang for a week. And everything went really well, and they had a great time in Koh Chang. And then they drove back to Pattaya, and the Aussie guy flew back to Perth. Now, Lex said to my hairdresser that she was very, very lucky that the Aussie guy flew back to Australia just in time before the big day. What do you mean, the big day? Said my hairdresser. Lex said, well, I wanted the car as a birthday present for the 30th birthday of my childhood sweetheart, the love of my life, the Thai boy I live with all the time the Australian guy's not here. He's been doing motorbike taxi work since we both came to Pattaya together 2 years ago and lived together for that whole time. And he wanted to upgrade to having a car and doing Bolt taxi work and ditch the motorbike taxi. But we couldn't afford a car. And he really wanted a red Mazda 2. Now he's really happy. He can drive his car every day. This is Thailand. So what did you think about that, guys? Interesting, eh? Don't forget, have a look at Instagram. Instagram is really good because it shows you lots and lots of Patreon clips, and Patreon's amazing. You'll love Patreon if you have a look at it. So also please subscribe, like, share, ring the bell, and have a check. Make sure you're not unsubbed. YT, you're just unsubbing many people. It's really ridiculous, but that's what's happening. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I shall see you on the next video.